Total effective sentence, 20 years, execution suspended after 14.5 years, 5 years probation.
Before the judge handed down the sentence, Jennifer's children spoke for the first time, bravely speaking before the court with raw emotion while delivering their victim impact statements.
My dad, with the help of Michelle Troconis, murdered my mom. And even though Michelle may not have been holding the weapon, I truly believe that she had a lot more to do with everything than she's letting on. Michelle Troconis, to me, is the reason I feel completely lost and alone on nights when I cannot sleep. She's the reason why I've blocked out my childhood, and that day so much I can barely remember it. She's the reason kids at school look at me with pity, the reason my teachers say guardians and not parents, the reason I've had to sit and watch as the people who care for me break down.
Now, Troconis was facing 6 charges, but the judge in the case dropped one of them, making the maximum amount of years she could have faced 45. We begin our team coverage of the Michelle Troconis sentencing with Fox 61's Julia LeBlanc, who is live outside Stamford Superior Court with more on the emotional victim statements from Doulos' children. Julia.
Hi, good evening to both. Well, you just heard today strong, powerful emotions were poured out in this courtroom today. For the very first time, we heard publicly from the 5 children of Jennifer Farber Doulos' young children. At that, we also heard from Michelle Troconis' daughter and the defendant herself, all statements that Judge Kevin Randolph says that he did take into consideration when deciding the sentence for Troconis, when he ultimately decided to sentence her to 20 years in prison, really 14.5 years with 5 years probation in connection to Jennifer's death. Now, the judge spent hours listening intently to statements from Jennifer's mother, her close friends, and as we mentioned, her children, all begging for a harsh sentence for Troconis, describing the grueling pain they say she has put them through since May 24th of 2019. Jennifer's children described Troconis as evil, speaking directly to her as they laid it all out on the table.
Your Honor, I understand that sitting over there is a mother with a child and a family who love her. My mom once had that. We once had that, and she helped destroy it.
An appropriate sentence, Your Honor, would be 50 years, 10 years for each child who lost their mother that day.
Some powerful words there. Now, at the same time, the judge heard from dozens of supporters of Troconis on her character and conscience, close friends and family members coming together to plead for mercy. One of them was Troconis' daughter, who was 12 when this all started, followed by Troconis herself.
I am begging you to listen. I need my mom in my life. I am deeply saddened by this tragedy that has affected so many lives. I deeply regret ever being in a relationship with Fotis Doulos.
Now, as that sentence came down from the judge, it was pretty stoic inside the courtroom. We will bring you there in our story coming up at 6 o'clock. In the meantime, Troconis' defense attorney, John Schoenhorn, promises that he is starting the appeal process. We're live here in Stamford tonight. Julia LeBlanc, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
All right, Julia, thank you. Such an emotional day in court there. And Fox 61 was live on the air when the sentence came down.
Our Bridget Biorlo joins us now with some legal analysis. So, Bridget, some might say that 14.5 years in prison is just not a long enough sentence. How did the judge come to that decision?
The Doulos children clearly did not want a sentence like this. They thought she deserved much more than 14.5 years. But the judge is given broad sentencing guidelines to follow, and ultimately he can use his discretion based on his interpretation of the case and the victim impact statements. You just heard many of them very emotional. Michelle Troconis was facing up to 45 years in prison for conspiracy to commit murder, evidence tampering, conspiracy to evidence tamper, and hindering the prosecution. Judge Randolph ultimately deciding 14.5 years plus 5 years probation was a sufficient sentence for her. He had the option to run that sentence for each charge consecutively or concurrently. He chose the latter, meaning they'd all be run at the same in time. He said he wanted a sentence that would match the crime, noting that Michelle wasn't the one who physically did the killing of Jennifer Dulos, and she never displayed any violent tendencies leading up to her involvement in this case. The judge referencing her clean criminal history and the very low chance that she would ever reoffend in the future. He says she doesn't pose a danger to the public. Earlier, former federal prosecutor Raymond Hassett joined us live right here on Fox 61 in our studios. Here he is weighing in on the sentence and what he makes of it.
After listening to Judge Randolph go through all of his analysis, taking into consideration all the facts and circumstances, including the victim impact statements, getting a true picture of the history of who Michelle Troconis is with all of her charitable and religious work throughout her life, you see people a little bit differently, and I think that the 14.5-year sentence is appropriate in light of the fact that the allegations were not that she committed the murder, but that she conspired to assist the murder. And while that sounds like semantics, it really isn't. It's important in the eyes of the law as to what the culpability we should look at for her.
Another factor perhaps is her age. Michelle is 49 years old right now. This would put her at around 63 years old when she gets out of prison. Troconis' defense team did file a motion to appeal her convictions. She will remain in prison for now as that process plays out. If she fails on appeal, I'm told there is a chance she could be released from prison earlier than that 14.5 years. That's with good behavior, the different housing options, and the programs that are out there. So we'll have to see what happens. So it could be even less than 14.5 years, Sarah.